Hey everyone, True here, and today we are going to take a closer look at the new Storm Clarice, her AI analysis, her pros, her cons, and which tier I think she will go to, and whether or not you should pull for her. So let's jump right in. Here we can see her threat level modifiers, and as you can see, they are fully kill focused, which makes sense because of her Fatal Frenzy skill. If she hasn't killed any unit, her threat level is basically completely normal. Once she gets the first kill, it rises by 10%, then rises another 20% once she gets a second kill, and there's even a 50% additional hate modifier if she has not used the deadly command yet, but is able to do so. I'm gonna mention later why the last one here isn't too concerning to me in terms of a heightened general threat level. Now, in terms of choosing which skills she uses, we see some very basic 1.0 weights for Rallying Queen and Combo Drain Plus. However, looking deeper into the Rallying Queen, she should really focus on very low HP enemies with this skill, and that is good because that means maybe even just with that kind of Rallying Queen skill, she might already be able to get a kill and unlock her deadly command and deadly Fatal Frenzy. Deadly command having the highest weight makes absolute sense. I mean, there's really basically no reason why you wouldn't use that skill, and she will usually use it on teammates that are either highly stunned or sleeping or desperate, basically on 1 HP, for example, and the other type of stuff of negative status effects. So that should be pretty good. I mean, considering that she gives it to 2, there's really just one other ally on the battlefield that she doesn't give it to, so already chances are pretty good that she will give the turn to someone useful if you have someone on your team that you want to have the turn. And then Fatal Frenzy, which pairs nicely with that kind of deadly give turn, actually deadly command, and Fatal Frenzy of course will focus similarly to that kind of Regal Eclipse from King Arthur, focus on units that cannot really be defeated otherwise, so really hold ground units, hold ground plus units especially, and some other units that might not be able to be defeated otherwise. You should also focus more on enemies that are below 50% HP, which makes sense because the Fatal Frenzy skill doesn't deal a huge amount of damage necessarily, especially without an armor ignore. Now let's get to the pros, to the analysis of this new Storm Clarice, and first up we have her really high speed, which really helps in the beginning of a battle, but also if she's coming in from the reinforcements. It means basically that she should get the turn relatively quickly and can immediately use Rallying Queen and unlock the Combo Train Plus with it. She's also gonna be super fast in terms of her active skills as long as she doesn't lose any charges due to being put to hold ground. That is really, really fast. I mean, we have these 40 time unit skills that can do a lot of good stuff, and her first basic skill, Rallying Queen, is already quite good, setting herself up with an Enrage, with a Sleep Ward if she lost it already, and also, of course, helping some of her other allies, that is, stun and combo units. Plus, even though it just deals 100% damage to one enemy, if it helps and gets her actually a kill, then this is already a great start because she will basically get another turn immediately, and that is where I think she is really, really strong. That kind of deadly command in combination with her deadly momentum that is part of her passive skill set. This just means she gets a kill, she immediately gets another turn, can use the deadly momentum, get 2 other units on your team a turn and purify them. Give them 4 spirit to the hand as well, in case they want to use some really, really powerful skills. And most likely just 20 time units later, she will already have another turn as well, because getting a kill will also get her back to 3 charges if she is below that. We're not even talking about Fatal Frenzy yet, and already I would say this is, I think, a unit that is, in terms of getting kills, getting really the most value out of getting kills. That kind of Triumph Deadly command in combination with the Deadly Momentum, in combination with getting 3 charges, possibly helping out your team massively, and at the same time also unlocking the Fatal Frenzy, of course, is just a really, really powerful package. Of course, while Fatal Frenzy in general is a bit less powerful than Regal Eclipse, for example, from King Arthur, that, can just snipe any unit that hasn't defeated any unit on your team yet. At the same time, I think it's less limited than Regal Eclipse. I mean, she has no limitation as to which unit she can take out with that Fatal Frenzy skill. Of course, however, she cannot reach beyond guards. But still, I think this is basically Fatal Frenzy, a bit less powerful than the Regal Eclipse, but also less limited, especially considering that the Regal Eclipse needs 3 charges to actually unlock, and these charges only happen if you defeat other enemies through other means first. And once Storm Clarice has killed 2 enemies, the Fatal Frenzy will deal 400% damage, that is 600% potentially enraged, and she will focus on units that are under 50% HP and have Hold Crown Plus or other things giving them survival. So this is really a good combination right there. Another plus for her, I think, is that the charge mechanic she comes with, again, looking at King Arthur in comparison, is a bit more universal than the kind of King's Dawn from King Arthur. I mean, of course, the King's Dawn, in terms of having that kind of speed improvement, the armor, the perma enrage, is much more powerful, but as soon as King Arthur gets taken away from the battlefield and is no longer at the dawn, she loses a lot of value. The same cannot be said for Storm Clarice, who can come into battle at any point and still be very valuable to your team and very fast still. Another nice point is that she gets the Sleep Ward straight away. Doesn't matter if she's coming in from the reinforcements or if she's already on the battlefield right at the beginning of the battle, she will have the Sleep Ward. And of course, she can refresh it with the Rallying Queen. This, of course, is particularly interesting if you're facing a lot of sleep teams. And one last pro that I want to mention is her hate conditions. Yes, once she unlocks basically the full Fatal Frenzy with 2 kills, her hate is not low, certainly, but I think generally it's still gonna be lower than someone like King Arthur. And it needs to be because she doesn't have Hold Crown Plus, but that is already one of the cons that I'm gonna mention. And one thing that is good about hate mechanics, the kind of 1.5 multiplier only kicks in if she can use the deadly command but hasn't used it yet. But as she has the deadly momentum, this should really rarely happen, either if she falls asleep from that attack somehow, or from someone coming in from the reinforcements, or if there's some stun involved, also possibly from the reinforcements or from her attack. In other instances, this hate multiplier, this very high hate multiplier, should actually not really matter, because she just immediately gets a turn when she gets a kill and can then immediately use the deadly momentum and will use it according to her AI. Now, that was a lot of pros, but there are also some cons that you definitely need to be aware of. Her Rallying Queen skill is really good, I mean, for herself, but also for stun and combo skill units. However, both stun and combo units aren't really super meta right now, so this is really a drawback. The question is, can she make stun maybe a bit more relevant again? Can she make a unit like Earth Orsia gain a bit of popularity? The Rallying Queen support is quite specific, so that might hold her back. for now. And in the same vein, she doesn't really have any particular synergy with sleep or burn teams, for example. Burn actually not a good combination with her at all because of her charged hold ground mechanic. And also she doesn't really synergize with poison with a unit like King Arthur necessarily, except of course for getting a kind of a steam train going, or a racing car going, I guess, in terms of killing enemies quickly and unlocking regular clips, unlocking Fatal Frenzy, going into full overdrive, not related to Spirit, of course. So yeah, that is something to consider. There's not a lot of synergy with a lot of very popular or high meta team builds right now. Another thing that I already saw is that she's a really, really big stun magnet, and that makes sense because it is a weakness of her that she doesn't have hold ground plus. I mean, yes, sometimes the charge mechanic with the 3 charges might actually be better than that, but more often than not, the hold ground plus would keep her alive, for example, from stun, because she's still guaranteed to get another turn, except for, of course, the regular clips and the Fatal Frenzy and possible other active skills that are coming in future units. So yeah, this makes her weak to stun, and she's also weak to poison and burn because of her charged hold ground mechanic. Of course, poison or burn both would whittle away at her, and she really needs to hope to get a turn and get a kill to actually avoid dying to this if she doesn't get help from her teammates. The last con that I want to mention is, I think I mentioned it before actually, that she doesn't have skills that actually ignore armor. Yes, she has Enrage, possibly from her Rallying Queen, but in general, no armor ignore is a bit rough against some of these units and might make it more difficult to actually get the kills she needs, and also possibly to take out units with her Fatal Frenzy skill. So in conclusion, where will Storm Clarice land in my tier list? According to the poll I did on this channel, she will go to SS tier. And honestly, based on her skill set alone, I fully agree. I mean, under the right circumstances, with the right teammates, she could very well be the most decisive unit in an arena battle or also in war. However, I feel like she quite possibly may end up only reaching S tier if we don't see some stronger combo or stun units being released soon, just because her skill set is a bit niche in terms of team composition, and so I don't think she will be 100% universally applied in meta teams that oftentimes thrive on synergy. That said, maybe I'm too pessimistic, and with her help, combo stun units get back into the meta as a viable choice besides that kind of sleep or burn setup. And so I would say, if you have the right accompanying units for her, and or if sleep is dominant on your server, that means burn playing a very, very minor role only, then you can absolutely consider pulling for her. She will not be going to waste in your team. Then of course I would recommend waiting until we have the fountain so you can catch some fountain rewards. Her banner should still be around for another 12 hours after the lucky fountain is released. What are your thoughts on her after she's been out for a while? Let me know in the comments. I generally respond to all of them. Thanks to Nizetto, LensGS and Saturn for the materials used in this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot. And as always, thanks for watching.